Hey everyone, so you just finished selecting which essay writing prompt that you were going to complete for your Poet X essay, and you've also made a copy of one of the two graphic organizers, depending on which option that you have selected. So now I want to talk to you a little bit about thesis statements for informative essays and how they are actually different than an argumentative claim. So let's get to it. It won't take very long. So, making this nice and big for you so you can see it on the screen. And feel free to just scroll through the slides if you don't want to watch the video. Thesis statements. So, what is the thesis of an essay? Well, quite simply, it's the main point you are trying to make in your essay. Just like a claim, it's what you believe about the topic. That's your defense statement, where you change the question or the writing prompt into your statement of belief. And then it's why you believe what you do, which is your precise reasoning. So, yes, this must be defensible and precise, just like your argumentative claims. Now, this is how the rubric differs. You'll notice it looks very similar, but it's a little bit different. So, you might want to take a closer look at it before beginning to write your thesis. And just like with your claims, assertions are on this same line item of the rubric. Next up, let's take a look at an example and go through what this really means. Your answer must be defensible and it must answer it in a very specific way. If it doesn't, you won't get more than an approaching. So, for an example, similes are used in the Poet X to show problems. Yep, they sure do. They sure do. So, next, to get it up to that met, you need to have more than one viewpoint. It can't be an obvious truth. And here's an example. Acevedo uses figurative language as an example of an obvious truth. To make this more defensible, Elizabeth Acevedo uses figurative language of metaphor to show the mother daughter relationship. You could also have a very standard 3 point thesis statement that would be something like Elizabeth Acevedo uses the figurative language of metaphor, similes, and personification to show the theme topics of relationships, religion, and trauma. That would be a very standard 3 point thesis statement that would be met expectations. But let's look and see how we can get it to that 4 or that exceeds expectations point. So we want to get really specific and really precise and nuanced. So make it very, very specific. It answers how, why, under what circumstances, or to what extent. For example, Elizabeth Acevedo uses the figurative language of metaphor to show how relationships fall apart and are put back together again in the Poet X. So it's much more specific and it gives us more to work with. So that is the breakdown of the rubric. Now we need to think about how this is different from a claim. So that's what I want you to do now. What makes this different from an argumentative essay claim? Think about that for a minute. What does it not include is what I'm getting at. What do you think? Think about it. And here we go. Let's see what it is. Sorry, apparently my trigger wants to do a lot. No counterclaim. That is right. You are informative writing, not debating your subject. So there is no counterclaim. Throw it out. You don't need it for this particular essay. I know we've been working on it a lot, but that's okay. You don't need it. So, no counterclaim. So, there you have it. That is your very brief introduction to thesis statements instead of claims. Next up, we're going to start working on crafting our thesis statements for our paper. So, go ahead and start on that. If you want me to walk you through it, go to the next slide because the next slide has another video for walking you through the next step of thesis writing. Bye for now.